first we're going to go ahead and get rid of that p0521 code, but we are getting a leak. So they were unable to identify, which is even a larger problem. Oh, I don't even want to get into this. Oh, man, it is back. We have the check engine light, engine oil pressure. Damn, man. Gotta figure this out. What is up? Good morning, folks. Today we have another episode of What Would Dad Do? Look at these these are lemons right here in the back of me. Those things gorgeous. Look at these freaking lemons. Woo! Look at these guys. Anyway, today we're going to be dealing with another episode of the p0521 code, which is our oil pressure sensor. First, what you want to do is you want to check the oil level. So we've done that multiple times. We know it's got oil. We know it's at the proper level. It is leaking a little bit. We'll get into that. Step number 2, if we do get that code, that 0521 code, the next thing that they suggest is to check your oil sensor, your oil pressure sensor. So we did do that. We had that replaced, and then we got the code again, probably a few days later. So once again, guys, let's just kind of go through the list of the different things that can impact this or throw that code up. The potential causes here. You got low or dirty engine oil. We know that is not the case. We have a faulty oil pressure sensor that has already been replaced once. And then we have the wiring connection issues, which is what we are trying to deal with today. Next up would be a clogged oil screen. That was checked as well, low oil pressure. That's a failing oil pump. Says right here, it could be a failing oil pump. So hopefully that's not the case. We're going to go ahead and change this out per this kind of direction right here and then see what we get. We've been doing okay since then. I haven't really had, it's not a dire thing because I know it's got proper oil pressure. So the sensor is obviously misreading something there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to check into the wiring because that's the third place that they suggest starting. So we're going to go ahead and check the wiring out today. I've already ripped everything out again, just kind of like I did with the airbox and so forth. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to hone in on showing you exactly where your oil pressure sensor is, how to get to the wiring harness. We're going to go ahead and add a new connector to it because that might be the problem why it's giving off a bad code, because the connector itself, the female end of the connector, could be potentially bad. So we're going to replace that piece and I'm going to walk you through that process. Hopefully that'll clear that code up. So before we go ahead and dive into the Mustang, I wanted to let you know that we do go ahead and get our rear spoiler and I'm very excited about that. I'm not going to unbox it though until we actually get our codes cleared. But check it out in one of my next videos and I'll go ahead and we're going to do our F1 racing spoiler with this guy right here. So I'm very excited about that and I can't wait to see you guys on the back end of that. I have noticed that many of you haven't taken the opportunity to smash that subscribe button. If you like this content and you want to see the DRS wing on the Mustang GT, then go ahead and take a second to subscribe, like it, and here we go. All right, so as we approach the engine from the driver's side, if we dig down here, I've already removed my air filter, air box. Now this guy right up here, that guy right up here is your oil pressure sensor. So he's got the insulation on him. That right there is your oil pressure sensor, that top one right there. Once again, there is our oil pressure sensor. It is that guy right there. And then it's clipped with, right here. This guy, he fits over the top of this one. Then you have this little guy who is plugged in underneath this spot right here. So if you did want to remove that oil pressure sensor at this point, then all you're going to need is the correct socket. It's really easy to access. You just take a wrench in there and then get it out of there. You're going to need a 15/16 inch, and it's going to be the deep socket because you're going to need that deeper size to get it over the top of the actual sensor itself. Now that we've got our two connectors out, we're going to go ahead and take apart all of the tape and all that stuff, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to splice it. Just looking at it in first inspection, it doesn't look like there's anything frayed. But we're going to go ahead and replace this because what ended up happening is I think maybe this connector got enough oil on it. I think this connector got enough oil on it where it could be bad. We're going to go ahead and replace this one right here. Here is a quick peek at some of the pieces that we're going to be using today. Got this one from O'Reilly. This is the same connector that it is using for our oil pressure sensor. Came with these little guys right here. Went ahead and got some wiring harness tape. This is heat resistant tape off of Amazon, and this is the code number if you ever wanted to look it up. Now I may not be able to get the part where I attach it to the harness itself on camera, but I am going to tell you that with this type of wiring, you usually want to attach these in 3 different spaces, not all bunched together. So we're going to go ahead and in these small intervals, we're going to put maybe one connection right there, another one right there, another one a little higher, and then that way they're not all crimped together. So I did want to show you what the new sensor looked like. So I've already installed it and wired it together. As you can see, what it looks like all back together. Got it all wired down in there. Here we are. See the black tape's the one on the oil pressure sensor, so that's my heat resistant tape. So all we need to do is put our airbags on and then check and make sure we don't get any codes anymore. It did it again. Oh my gosh. So we replaced all that stuff. We replaced the female end of the connector for the oil sensor, and then probably a mile down the road or whatever, it popped up that same code and the low oil pressure. So after we've accomplished that, I did go ahead and check in to see what a wiring harness potentially looks like. And if we look at the wiring harness in this situation, this is not an expensive piece, but we want to be certain that this is something that is impacting or throwing that car. We just don't know that yet. So I'm not going to push forward, but this is what this looks like. It's about $267 online. All things being the same, I just feel like we're just throwing darts at a board at this point. So you could potentially do the wiring harness. We could look at the fuel pump. We could look at, anything like that. So there's a lot of stuff that we could potentially look at. This is where it might make sense to take it directly to the Ford dealership, have them run the code or figure out what's going on and see what they have to say about it rather than throwing darts at a board, because I don't want to waste my time or money on things that aren't going to solve our problems. So more than likely we're going to do that. I'll keep you guys posted on how we're doing. Right now the car drives fine and we know we have oil. It's not in limp mode or anything like that, so everything is still functioning. It's just that it keeps on throwing up that code, and we want to make sure we get that resolved in the case that there is low oil pressure in the system. We know that's not the case, but we're going to go ahead and potentially take it over there anyway.